When I say the words Canadian Airline, chances are the first airline that comes to mind is Air Canada. And to be fair, that is totally understandable. After all, Air Canada is the largest airline in the country, carries around 48 million passengers a year, and is the national flight carrier of Canada. However, the video today is going to inform you on the history of the second largest Canadian airline, one not nearly as old or as established as the aforementioned Air Canada, but an airline gaining popularity over the last 2 decades and ever so quickly establishing themselves as a major airline in the country. We will look into fleet details and milestones, as well as a timeline of major accomplishments. It is important to gain an understanding of these airlines in preparation for the next time you take to the skies. And now, if you did not know already who we are talking about, it is, without a doubt, none other than WestJet Airlines. "24 years ago, on February 29, 1996, the first ever WestJet flight, operated by a classic Boeing 737-200, took off and marked the start of service from this Western Canadian airline company. Initially, WestJet served the cities of Calgary, Edmonton, Kelowna, Vancouver, and Winnipeg, using a fleet of just 3 737-200 planes and 225 company members. By the end of the year, Regina, Saskatoon, and Victoria were added to their route map. But why was WestJet taking their chances within the airline industry in Canada? After all, by that time, Air Canada, or formerly known as Trans-Canada Airlines, had already been in operation for nearly 60 years and had established themselves as the nation's flag carrier and premier airline. To gather insight as to the plans and intentions of WestJet, we have to rewind to June 27th of 1994. Clive Beddoe, David Neilman, Mark Hill, Tim Morgan, and Donald Bell began the foundations of WestJet Airlines and based its model around the low-cost airline structure, similar to the popular Southwest Airlines down south. Operating as a no-frills, low-cost airline with friendly customer service attitude was the plan from the start, and Canadians took notice of the good quality of service they were getting whilst paying a lower fare. 3 years later, in 1999, before the turn of the new millennium, in the summer month of July, WestJet went public, with an initial public offering of 2.5 million shares sold at $10 per share and increasing to $18 by the end of the same year. With all initial routes situated in Western Canada, giving it the name of WestJet, the relatively new airline added Ottawa and Moncton as new destinations in the year 2000, and saw the city of Hamilton designated to be their eastern hub. Over the next 3 years, further expansion within the country would be made, with notable cities such as Toronto, Halifax, and St. John's being amongst the additions. However, it would not be until 2004 before WestJet would begin expanding across the border and internationally. 2004 saw real change in the little airline that could, as WestJet introduced flights to New York, Los Angeles, Palm Springs, San Francisco, Phoenix, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and Tampa. All these cities are located in the United States of America, thus signaling the start of international routes for the once domestic airline. A year later, in 2005, the ever-useful classic 737-200 of WestJet got a good retirement farewell, as the airline moved towards a newer generation of aircraft. Gone were the days of classic 737 cockpits and bucket engine reversers, and it was a time for an era of fuel-efficient modern jets. 2006 saw WestJet celebrate 10 years in operation and marked the beginning of a new location, with Bahamas being the destination of choice. And WestJet will continue on with their operations, seeing various new milestones reached along the way. Skip forward to 2014, the year where WestJet marked its first flight across the pond, also known as the Atlantic Ocean. A seasonal non-stop flight to Dublin, Ireland was the start of transatlantic ventures and a real international presence outside of the continent. While still maintaining a strong presence within North America, WestJet began flights into London Gatwick, using their Boeing 767-300ER wide-body aircraft. But just when did they acquire all these big birds? That would have to be explained using a detailed analysis of their fleet. And so, without further ado, we begin our look into the WestJet fleet, and see just what planes this airline is currently operating. We start our look into fleet details by reviewing WestJet Link, a subsidiary of WestJet operating express service between small towns in Canada beginning in 2018. They use a fleet of 3 SAP 340 planes with an average age of 23.4 years. In 2012, WestJet saw the inauguration of WestJet Encore, a Canadian regional airline owned by WestJet and is comprised of the Dash 8 Q400 aircraft, and they currently operate 47 of these next-generation turboprops. Each plane seats 78 passengers in a 2-2 configuration. On to the main line. WestJet operates a solely Boeing fleet of aircraft, with 3 versions of the 737 Next Gen, including the 600, 700, and 800 variants. In 2013, the deal for 65 new 737 MAX-type aircraft was signed, with 13 MAX 8 aircraft already delivered and further orders of MAX 7 and MAX 10 planes yet to be delivered due to the current grounding of the type that began in March of last year. The year 2015 marked the introduction of the Boeing 767-300ER, and the airline operated 4 of these wide-body aircraft. These dual-aisle planes have been confirmed to be retired due to the current pandemic, but were essential on the initial long-range flights to Europe. Finally, in 2018, the first of 10 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners, the flagship of the company, began service for the airline and is used for various domestic routes and international flights, including Dublin, Paris, and London Gatwick Airport. This new plane, featuring 3 classes, truly marks a turning point for the corporation and displays the intention of WestJet becoming a full-service airline. Also in 2018, the launch of a subsidiary low-cost airline, Swoop, was further supporting the fact that WestJet, once a small low-cost operator themselves, has begun their move into the full-service sector and is comfortably situated as the second largest airline in Canada, and offering a full array of services, including a brand new premium economy cabin and the addition of business class seating in their Dreamliners. Their new subsidiary airline Swoop would be flying with a fleet of 737-800 aircraft, featuring their bright pink logo and offering significantly reduced fares for Canadians looking for an easy way to travel cheaply. With the current world of aviation coming to a grinding halt due to the global climate experiencing a pandemic, it is clear that airlines have had to adjust their future plans. Although air travel is slowly picking up again, it is nowhere near where it used to be and where it was predicted to be had aviation continued to expand. For this reason, it is extremely difficult to predict future direction for any airline, even a well-established company such as WestJet. With many of their 737-600 aircraft already being out of service and passenger demand having dropped significantly over the last few months, it will be more about getting people to fly again, re-establishing furloughed employees, re-implementing routes, and convincing the general public that it is once again safe to take flights, rather than focusing on immediate expansion plans. As such, it would be foolish and inaccurate for me to place any predictions about what WestJet would do next in their hopes of expanding further. Rather, we should all just wait and see what WestJet and the other airlines will be doing once aviation returns to a new normal, whenever that might be. However, the orders for the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft are still in place, and when the issues that Boeing has with their new plane has been fixed, you can expect them to slowly become incorporated into fleet once again. And with that, we wrap up this video on a hopeful note. Hopeful for a future where aviation once again reaches unprecedented numbers, and hopeful for overall things to improve drastically. It will be difficult for passengers to want to fly again, the same way we all did just a year ago, but as with all things in aviation, it is an ever-changing industry, and I'm certain things will return to normal, whatever that standard for normal may be. WestJet, the once little airline that operated in the West Coast, to the current full-service company offering an array of services to passengers across the continent and beyond, has come a long, long way, establishing themselves comfortably as Canada's second largest airline and becoming a strong competitor in a Canadian market once nearly monopolized by Air Canada. I hope that you learned a little bit about the details of the history of WestJet Airlines and its subsidiary companies. If you want to view my Air Canada video, once again, just click the link down below or the card linked right above. Please take a moment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. This action helps me out immensely, and it is free to do so, and it motivates me to create more aviation content for you all to watch. As always, aviators, I hope that if you are flying, fly safely, And as usual, I hope that you all have a great day, everyone. Cheerio!